Kia ora, g'day. Welcome back once again here with part 8, I think it is, of my reaction to Mr. Sam Bamford, the host of the Two Worlds Collide podcast, interviewing his guest, Mr. Scott Jones, former 2 Commando. So let's jump back in.
Afghan villages.
So they pretty much got the Afghans' greatest soldiers
Yeah. So I don't
in
know.
this village, but they're just innocent villagers.
Yeah. So one of the villagers that testified against Ben.
I want to talk about these guys.
Yeah, like
heavily.
He saw this incident happen in Darwan. He was watching it from across the creek bed. And then in his cross-examination, he's like, well, to be honest, I'm like 80 years old. Or he's probably, like 35 in Afghan years, which is kind of like dog years, You got to fucking times 7 or whatever a dog is. And this dude's like, I can't even see my own dick when I piss. I can't see that well. Yet he could spot RS fly kicking someone off a cliff 300 meters away across a creek bed. And that was his testimony.
So he got cross-examined for bad eyesight.
Yeah.
But you've seen him for 300 meters away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty sure the judge, pretty sure was like, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, buddy. And so a few of these witnesses are back here now living in Australia.
Afghan nationals.
From the Valley of the Martyrs.
Okay, so like pretty much the place where they house all their greatest fighters.
Yeah.
So the Australian government, sounds like, have let these Afghan nationals in who come from the Valley of the Martyrs into Australia. And the numbers, Australia's clearly I shouldn't say Australia, the current Labor government seems to be that weak on their immigration stance that they let ISIS back into their country. They let them leave to go fight with ISIS, get married to ISIS fighters. Then when those ISIS fighters get killed, they let those ISIS widows with their children come back into Australia. Crazy, man. You are just asking for more trouble to happen in the country. Do you think that ISIS, Al Qaeda, the Taliban are going to just forgive the fact that Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the coalition forces fought with America in their country, in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and invaded those countries? You really think that they're just going to go, oh, that's okay, and they're not going to do anything about it? That's not the case at all. Their greatest asset and time for those organizations, deemed terrorist organizations, many of them, is time. The freedom to just take their time and then strike whenever the truck they feel like it.
Afghan Taliban fighters.
Yeah, one's an Uber driver in Adelaide. We're tracking him. And when the extraction happened from Kabul and a lot...
They're tracking him until such time as somebody decides to pull the pin and not track them anymore, and then a Bondi terror attack happens.
A lot of our service personnel bravely went over there when bombs are going off, killing all these Marines on the fence, and we had a number of our Air Force, SAS dudes, commandos, conventional forces, Agis, all there extracting all these poor innocent Afghan people that were going to be beheaded by the Taliban. I guarantee you a few of the people on that plane were the witnesses. And the reason why I know is because allegedly one of the major networks.
Well, I would also guarantee, I'd be willing to bet that there are several, if not more, of those that are part of that refugee group to be extracted, dare I say, and taken to a Western country, who are likely like Hikmatullah, who are likely the same as other insurgents, terrorists, that have just infiltrated and got their cover story sussed out as well in order to get to where they want and need to be so that they can continue the work, you know what I mean, of their organization. And, man, it's just, you don't like to think about it, but I honestly think it's just a matter of time before that sort of stuff happens in these Western countries like Australia, New Zealand, the UK, US, etc. It's just a matter of time. More stuff is going to happen. As sad as that is to be saying, I think, the world in which we live in, people are probably smart enough to understand that that likely is the case, but we probably also like to think that surely that's not going to happen, or hopefully. Maybe we're living in hope. Hope is probably the more accurate word. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Paid for a year's accommodation in Kabul for these families. And
I wonder which network that is.
Look, I don't know, mate. I'm not a journalist. But so these individuals were staying at a nice, safe hotel, so the Taliban didn't come in and kill them because they're cooperating now with white-faced Western Christians or Jews, whatever denomination you believe in. The Taliban weren't happy with that. Even though they're actually coming to Australia to allegedly prosecute Australian soldiers, the Taliban weren't too happy with that. So they needed bodyguards. And that network allegedly approached a company that does private security over in Afghanistan. And a lot of the dudes that run the private security teams for the embassies are ex-Australian soldiers, Aussie diggers that have chasing the big bucks on the embassy contract gigs.
And obviously we know all them because we're good friends with them.
Yeah, so a few of them reached out and said, hey, I was one of the guys bodyguarding those guys at their hotel before we extracted them back to Australia.
So there was a media outlet in Australia that paid a lot of money to get these guys protected to bring them back to Australia to then prosecute against Ben Roberts-Smith.
That's what people are saying. And then one of the guys said, well, these Afghans were, they didn't have much money, so every now and then we'd buy them.
So if that's the case, and it sounds like it is, I don't know, but the media are forking out that much money, right? They're paying $700,000 hush money. They're paying for, seems like, allegedly, accommodation for Afghan witnesses, Afghan nationals. They're paying to bring them to Australia and putting them up, I would assume. I'm sure I read in that report that there was an Afghan, or one of the allegations against Ben Roberts-Smith is that he ordered an Afghan National Army member to execute a detainee. So I think I've said from the start, surely that's easy enough for the media to get onto, and that sounds like somebody that they would look to fund and bring to Australia as well, or take to Australia, so that that person can testify against RS as well. That's what it sounds like to me. Haven't heard anything come of that yet. Maybe all I'm doing is planting seeds for them to look at doing. But if it's already written in the judge's notes, or the charges, the allegations that have been made against RS, I would have thought that there would be more said about that. I would have thought that for the defamation trial even, that they would have sought that person, the actual Afghan army member, who it's alleged that RS ordered to execute an unarmed detainee as well, to be there to testify against RS. I mean, as it is, the defamation case, it didn't impact it for the media. Like, they still won it, and RS lost the defamation case. So, but I would have thought that if they're forking out that much money, left, right, and centre anyway, what's a fourth person in the bigger scheme of things, and potentially a fourth person who's a stronger witness than the blind fella who can't blink and see down below there past his guts. So yeah, anyway,
a can of Fanta, or buy them whatever they needed, smokes and bumming a durry out the front of the hotel while they were there for a year, and they started to develop a bit of Stockholm syndrome, and they start hanging out with the bodyguards more, and some of them conversing. Eventually, they were told like how much money they're going to be given and all the things that they've been promised in Australia, and the boys
to prosecute against.
That's interesting, eh? I mean, it's it's not surprising, people getting comfortable with the people that they're there with when whether they're a client and you're the consultant in this case here, in terms of providing the private security, or vice versa. I think you spend enough time with people, you start to become comfortable. You start to talk about other things. You open up. Let's say you talk about family. You talk about things that you've done in the past, or what you're planning on doing in the future. It's just a natural thing. And for these guys, by the sounds of things, that's if they've been promised and told that they'll be given these certain things, it does sound, I would imagine, enticing and incentivized to a degree to be accusing a very particular Australian war hero in regards to RS, and accusing him of war crimes to fit a media narrative. That's what it sounds like anyway. But at the end of the day, these are all allegations. This is, I don't know, I guess second, third hand in terms of what Scott Jones is sharing here and divulging from the boys that they would have known and that they were friends with, working this private security on the embassy gigs. And just so happens that some of them are looking after some of these Afghan nationals.
Ben.
Yeah. And the boys, the diggers that are now bodyguards, recorded it all. They got video footage. They got audio files of it.
No, what? You really?
Oh, wow. So I think I do remember him saying that when I watched this before and did a reaction to it, but I'd forgotten about that. Completely forgotten about it. So again, if there's recordings or footage of that, I'd like to think that RS's lawyers, legal team, hitting up these guys to get those recordings and that footage and looking to have that admitted into court as evidence in support of RS, obviously, but to also point out this seemingly witch hunt going after RS. I'd definitely be wanting to try to get that and be, no doubt they're probably hitting up Scott Jones again, hey, who are the lads? We need to get in touch with them, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how that works from a legal perspective and or whether they're able to use that sort of information, but hopefully they are.
Yeah.
So there's video footage out there that's, I'll be careful with this. There's video footage out there allegedly recorded of these guys allegedly saying that they are going to be given money and a great life if they talk up against Ben.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a big curveball in the case.
Yeah, big curveball. So no, these are the witnesses.
Massive curveball, all right. Again, that's if you're the lawyer, you'd be wanting, in defending RS, you'd be wanting to get your hands on that sort of information.
These are the 21 witnesses in this trial that everyone keeps talking about in the comments. So,
and again, 21 witnesses. In that article that I read, that old hemorrhoid head, hammerhead 27 sent through, asked me to read, it said 41 witnesses in the writing. So I don't know whether that's a typo or whether there is 41 witnesses, but these two lads have been speaking about 21 witnesses. So I don't know.
Oh, and I don't know, who knows if it's true and how much money it was, but I know I accidentally broke an Afghan man's window once on a job. Actually put my barrel through it and he ended up being a good guy. And we gave him $20, $20 US. And he was, I've never seen a man cry that much. Like he just saw his first son get born or whatever. $20 went a long way in his valley. And I can only imagine what.
20 US?
20 US.
Well, a US goes a long way in Australia now, mate, as well.
True, yeah. True. So, yeah, man.
Goes a long way in New Zealand as well.
When a lot of people, before I got cancelled the first time, I was getting a lot of these messages coming through from the boys like, hey, we're watching the trial. Just so you know, like I was bodyguarding these guys. So
wow.
Come forward.
That is a wow. Guys that were watching the trial. So just so you know, I was bodyguarding these guys. I think Scott Jones just said it then. So, you know, these guys come forward. Let me just go back a little bit. I think that's what he's just saying.
Watching the trial. Just so you know, like I was bodyguarding these guys. So
wow.
Come forward, boys. Like, hey,
okay, so
Ben's in jail.
Because the first,
yeah, obviously Ben's not in jail now; he's out on bail. But come forward, boys, like 100%. I don't know that any of the boys would see my reaction here, but they've no doubt seen Scott Jones's interview on the Two Worlds Collide podcast, which is great. So, like you said, come forward. I like to think, and hopefully they are, and that they're reaching out in whatever way, shape, or form that they can. To RS's legal team or whoever to be able to, you know, speak to where they can. I don't know what other information they may have, if it's the footage and recorded conversations with these people. I don't know how admissible into a criminal trial that sort of stuff may be or may not be. But yeah, whatever, I would be encouraging those guys, just like Scott Jones has said, you know, come forward.
First one with the 7RR boys, I mean, there is massive holes in that story, and there's very contradicting points as well.
Yeah.
The second one that you just told sounds like a guy that seems to be 80 years old that can't see past his dick. has somehow seen Ben kick someone off a cliff from 300 meters away.
Yeah. And one of his teammates did testify that I think he saw it as well. However, that dude is a raging alcoholic, and it's well known, like he's not well in the head. And it's not, I don't think, as you've said it before.
I think that person, I can't remember the number, so I won't try to stab at a guess here, but you hear some of what Scott Jones is talking about. I don't know about a raging alcoholic and being not well in the head, but the reaction that I did to that before it got blocked on the Guardian, I think it was blocked on the Guardian, that Guardian site or Guardian channel. There is one of the operators on there, and during the cross-examination, I think there's some talk about potential medications and all that sort of thing, and having a bit of a foggy memory, but they couldn't. I think they had to be careful about how far they delved into it, and it wasn't allowed to be released in terms of what type of medication and stuff he was on, etc. So I don't know. That does leave a fair bit of speculation and stuff, and leaves a fair bit to the left to the imagination of how credible is that information if the guy is on this type of medication, which is apparently must be pretty important, that it can't even be released or divulged in terms of what type of medication he's on. Unfortunate for him, but yeah, I don't know.
Like you've done it on your reels, like CTE is a real thing. PTSD is a real thing. I'm not a big mental health advocate. Men have muscles, not feelings, but hey, other people will agree that people aren't doing too well from everything that's come out.
But when you run this through court, right, and the defamation trial was probability, now it's beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So you can't sit there and cross-examine that and then go to the jury and say, okay, what's going on here?
And on top of that, that's in the jury. Then they push everyone out of the room that's not required, and they go into a closed courtroom where the top secret stuff happens. And the jury's going to have to go in there and listen to, like they did in the defamation case. And in the top secret room, there's actually evidence in the top secret trial, especially for the village of Darwan, that acquits Ben, I feel. There's clear evidence that I read that.
Wow. I didn't remember him saying that either the first time I did the reaction to this on a live. He's saying he feels that there's strong evidence in there that acquits Ben Roberts-Smith in there. So, there are going to be pieces to this trial in both I guess what will be available in the public domain, and then also that the top secret part of things, whereby it sounds like they'll just compartmentalize that stuff, separate it from. The jury's going to have to be, I would imagine the jury's going to have to be a part of that. And however the government and the legal system and process goes about selecting the jury members and trying to, as best they can, trying to ensure that that jury members don't divulge sensitive top secret information in those parts of the trial. Thankfully, that's not up to me to have to do. But because otherwise I can't see how a jury could be expected to fairly deliver a beyond reasonable doubt verdict in the case of Ben Roberts-Smith when it goes to trial, if they don't have the opportunity to see and hear all the information that is available, top secret or not. So anyway, I'm going to leave this one there. That's my take. It's only about 20 minutes, actually. So, yeah, and I'll get onto another video later on. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about it all. Whether you think RS is guilty or not, feel free to whack in your comments. I don't think RS is guilty. But again, I do that with some of my bias and based on what I've heard so far and some of the other reactions that I've done. I acknowledge and accept that Combe over Bazenko has seen fit to rule in favour of the media, to say that on the balance of probabilities, he believes that it's more than likely that RS did commit those things and that he was a bully. But yeah, again, that's from what I understand, it's a lower burden of proof required for the balance of probabilities versus what will be this criminal trial when it goes ahead, which has to be proven beyond reasonable doubt. And just with all the gaps and the stuff that I've heard just even so far from Scott Jones, it just doesn't, I don't know how the prosecution is going to prove beyond reasonable doubt. No forensic evidence, cross-examination of witnesses who are on some severe medication by the sounds of things, who have got some mental issues and PTSD, contradicting witness statements from members who were other operators who were also on the ground versus other guys that were on the ground in the same patrol and same team. Yeah, I don't know, but time will tell. Anyway, if you stuck around this long, thank you very much for your time and support as always, and we'll see you on the next video.